again, and welcome back. It's time to move on to session 2 of the Easy Loss Virtual Gastric Band Surgery programme. Now, by now you'll have been listening to session 1 of the hypnosis recordings for a minimum of 2 weeks, and you will be well on the way to losing all that excess weight that you no longer want or need. Now, what I'd like to chat to you about today is how to recognise when you are actually physically hungry and how to avoid emotional eating. So many people gain unwanted weight because they eat emotionally, or because they're eating when really they are actually thirsty, rather than eating only when they're physically hungry. So first of all, from now on, every time you think you're hungry, have a drink of water. It doesn't need to be a huge glass. You don't need to carry around a 2-litre bottle of water with you every day. Just a small glass of water when you think you're hungry will help. The thirst signal and hunger signal are almost identical, so many of us don't drink unless we actually feel thirsty. Feeling thirsty, that signal that you get, that you recognise as feeling thirsty, is actually a sign that you are starting to dehydrate. So by drinking water every time you think you're hungry, you will notice that quite often the feeling of hunger will go away. If this happens, then you were thirsty and you don't need to eat anything. And if the feeling doesn't go away, then you are hungry and you should go ahead and have something to eat. And it's no wonder really that we learn to eat emotionally when you look at how often food's given to us when we're younger because we're upset for some reason. For example, do you remember a time when you were younger and you'd fallen over and grazed your knee maybe? Did anybody ever say something like, there, have a sweet or a lollipop, that'll make it better? Nobody ever said, here, have a carrot, that'll make it better, did they? So if you find you're eating because you're bored, maybe because you're lonely or because you're stressed, perhaps you even eat to reward yourself, then the following tips will help you to change those patterns so that you begin to eat only when you're physically hungry and do something else when it's an emotional hunger. Now, one of the first things to remember is that food didn't cause you to feel upset, didn't cause you to feel cross or stressed, so it's not going to change those feelings either. In fact, it will just make it worse. You see, when you eat just for a moment, the happy chemical serotonin is released, and that's why you've made a connection that if you eat, you'll feel better. Unfortunately, what happens then is that you realise that you've overeaten, and you feel even worse. Now, a much better way to deal with your emotions is to find ways to make yourself feel better that don't include food at all. I appreciate it's not always easy to think of something in the moment that you're actually feeling upset or stressed. So our tip would be to make a list of things, about 10 or 15 different things, that would make you feel good, but that don't involve food at all. Now, for instance, you could pick up the phone and call a friend for a chat. Perhaps you could write a letter or an email. You could watch your favourite comedy show on the TV. Maybe dance around to some music that you love. You could even think about taking 10 minutes out to sit down somewhere quiet and read a magazine or go for a walk. Even just opening the front door, walking away from the house for 5 minutes and turning around and walking the 5 minutes back can make a huge difference. And of course the exercise helps anyway. Pampering yourself works well too. So perhaps you could have a soak in a bubble bath. Or paint your nails. You can't eat crisps with wet nails, can you? Now, if you write your list out or type it out and pop it on the kitchen notice board or the fridge door, it'll be really handy to look at whenever you get the urge to eat emotionally. You can choose something from your list before you reach for something to eat. I'll look forward to speaking to you again on day 25 of your programme. But until then, Enjoy your weight loss journey with us.